All right, well, welcome everyone. Thank you for coming to the film festival. Um, and thank you for coming to my presentation. Um, just out of curiosity, I would like to kind of get a feel of who am I talking to? Is anybody in here like the A of AVL like myself? I am an audio person, got a couple, okay? Just so you know, this is gonna be kind of like intro to audio. Who do I have in here who's like a producer? Ish. Okay. Some of you wear every hat. Got it. Director. Okay. Actor. Okay. Uh, those of you who haven't put your hands up, who are you? Yeah.
Yes, I'm an editor.
Editor. Okay. Great.
I'm a composer.
Composer. Editor, colorist. Okay. Great. Um, so, like I said, my name's Caleb Knott. I am an audio director for a large church in San Antonio. And this picture I just got the other day from someone, and it just proves that a good photographer can make any job look great. Uh, Great use of lighting and lens flare. So who am I? First of all, I am a child of God. Um, I grew up as the son of a pastor, accepted Christ as my Savior at a young age, and have been following him on a crazy journey my entire life. I am a husband and a father. My wife and I have 4 children. I'm an audio director, and then smaller type, I've dabbled in sound design, some post-audio. And then I like to refer to ourselves as micro ranchers. We have some Nigerian dwarf goats that we raised. We had a spectacular failure with chickens. And then we also have a Great Pyrenees who is too smart for her own good and only decides to listen when she wants to, but she is a great pet for our family. Yeah, so managing some expectations. I am an introvert by nature, so I would love for this session to be very interactive. I don't like to hear myself talk. I prefer to ask questions and listen to other people talk. But here's some things that I just also want to just set forward. We're going to get into some softwares. We're going to talk about tools. We're going to play with sound. We are not going to have a really cool, awesome finished project. In fact, I intend to mess it up completely because I want you to understand what tools you have available and what they're doing. I'm going to exaggerate what they're doing so that hopefully you can better understand how to use it in the end to make your mix sit well. I'm also coming at this from the perspective of, maybe I'll get to this too later, so if I hit it again, forgive me. I want you to be able to know enough about sound, enough about the tools to make your project sound good so that you can get success, and from that success, you can hire someone in audio down the road. Audio is very critical to your project, but I also understand that many of you don't have as much money as you would like. But a good audio engineer, a good post-production audio person will take your project to a completely different level. And they're going to have tools in their toolbox that are probably quite expensive, and that if you don't know what you're doing, it's not going to do you any good to spend the money on that. I'm not going to be pushing any expensive DAWs or plugins. In fact, every tool we're going to touch today is free to you as an end consumer. I'm assuming you have a computer that can handle the software. But I was recently introduced to DaVinci Resolve, and when I got into that, I'm like, wow, these are some powerful tools, and it's free, and it's amazing. I don't have a handout. Again, I have some places I want to go, but I also want to talk to where you are at in your audio journey, answer questions you have. So, interrupt me, ask questions. If I say a term or I gloss over something, go ahead and just call me back, call me out, and I will back up. Oh, that's all good. All right, here's, again, some more assumptions I'm making, because I can. That you don't have a whole lot of money, you have a computer. I'm going to assume you know how to edit video. All right, I'm not going to walk through how do you sync your audio to your video. All right. I'm also going to assume most of you don't have any formal audio training. And that for this demonstration, you're only going to have access to the audio that you have on hand. You know, we're not going to be able to go do pickups. We're not going to go to a sound library. And I hope we can get to some sound design stuff. But you've got audio you captured on set, and that's what we got to play with today, okay? I hope we will have fun. I hope, again, we will interact. I hope your future projects will sound better. And then, again, I hope that eventually someday you get successful enough that you can hire someone who has experience, gear, to get you to that next level. Okay, who uses DaVinci Resolve? Yay! Several of you do. Again, I was blown away by what DaVinci has inside of it. I am the A of AVL, like I said. I got to playing with some of the coloring and like totally mess things up, which again tells me these tools are very powerful. Again, we will do, DaVinci Resolve will do almost anything you need it to do audio-wise. And again, free. All right, a free, helpful website. I am not being sponsored by this website, but a free website you can go to when we start talking about sound and frequencies and cleaning up audio. This little chart is something that helps you put words to what you're hearing. And I'll probably say it multiple times. When you're listening, you're going to have to learn to listen differently. You're not listening to what's being said. You're listening to how what's being said sounds. And then you're going to say, okay, what about this sound do I not like? And then how do I deal with what I don't like? In sound, many times, less is more. When we get into EQ and stuff, you're going to cut. If you can't fix it by cutting, then we'll start maybe talking about boosting or when to boost. But most of the time, you're going to take stuff away, especially this stuff. Spoken word, nobody's talking that low. High pass filter, get rid of it, clean it up. There's an air conditioner running on your set. High pass filter, that's going to clean it up a lot. Going to get rid of that rumble. But this just gives some context, and the frequencies sound like the words, you know. So if it's a sibilant, S's, I hate S's. As an audio person, they are the bane of my existence. Most of the time, if it's a male speaker, it's going to be like 5K and up. Female speaker, 7K and up. That's where we're going to go to deal with S's. All right, I'm going to take a second here to breathe. Questions so far? No? Okay, well, you can go to this website. You can get it. It's not my website. I can't give it to you. But oh, all right. I'm going to hold on to that. Let's jump over to DaVinci. So some of you who use this more often probably understand better how to use this. And in full disclosure, I left my laptop at home. So I had to borrow this laptop and rebuild my session. So it is obviously not as clean as I had hoped. I had like 15 minutes to throw it back together. But for the most part, again, for this class, I'm just going to ignore the video part. Right, this was a clip that I got from our video team at the church I work at. And the end product sounded really good for them, but I do have some raw audio clips that I'll be using to demonstrate what this program can do. So sorry. Why am I not on top? No, that is the window I thought I wanted. Yeah, my mix window. Oh, go. Yes, thank you. Yes. So, and also this, I think this is an older version of DaVinci than I had downloaded. So thank you for helping me, because I'm looking for things and they're not where I wanted them to be. Oh, no, I did want that. Shoot. There we go. Maybe. Within DaVinci Resolve, as I'm looking for my anchor point here, you're able to manipulate sound in two different locations. Where's the inspector I'm looking for? There we go. There it is. Okay. Yes, so inspector audio. All right, if you have a clip selected, and then you come into your inspector and audio, you're directly affecting the clip. Later, as we work through this, we're eventually going to get to the channel. Channel has similar tools, but everything on that channel will then have imprinted on it whatever you do. So here, we're going to go into the clip, and we're going to manipulate the clip itself versus anything that's running through a channel. First of all, the first thing we have is obviously your volume. Pretty straightforward. Different things are going to sound louder at different points. This is going to change the volume of the clip itself overall. This would be if you need a makeup gain, or maybe you got recorded a little bit hot, got close to clipping, you can pull your gain back a little bit. Holy. All right, so audio's working.
About your family, about yourself, and
So here we go.
maybe what's next in your family.
Thanks, Selma.
Well,
Most of my understanding about
you can come
parenting came
here.
from raising two girls. I'm a girl dad. Two girls now, 35 and 30.
Show me more. You know what? Why is it not giving me shrink? Nope. Really? I thought it was there. But again, you're boosting the clip itself. So as you can see, the waveform is changing in size and intensity, and you can push it up into a clip. Clip's bad. We don't want to do that. But if you need to gain up the whole thing, you can bring it up there. So pretty straightforward. Next tool there is panning. If it's spoken word, bring it down the middle. Is anybody mixing outside of stereo? Is anybody getting into surround a little bit? Okay, I'll touch on that toward the very end. But yeah, your dialogue, well, you always want that down the center. Music, you can pan outside to create space. Your sound effects, you can pan outside a little bit. Don't go crazy with your left to right pan. Because if with sound you can direct attention. So if you're hearing dialogue off one speaker or another, you can pull someone out. And then if you get into surround, you hear something behind you, you don't want to pull attention off the screen with your sound design. So be careful with panning. All right, so one of the nice tools that DaVinci has is this dialogue leveler. If you don't know exactly how loud you need it to be, you can turn this on. You can give it a target. You can adjust some of these settings to create a little more space from the background sounds. It kind of just does it, which is good until it's not. All right, when anything that's going to be automatic, it can work well. Sometimes it doesn't. If it doesn't work well, turn it back off, and you have to go in and try to do some more stuff manually. But this will get all your dialogues hopefully close to the point where you need it to be, where it's going to sit on top, sit up front of your mix. Okay, I'm using lots of terms like up front, on top of your mix. So technically sound is a physical thing, waves flying through the air, right, and hitting us and our ears interpret it. So I'm using some terms to try to describe where I want that sound to land when my brain reinterprets it, right? So up front, I typically think if I'm talking to someone's face to face, it's going to hit me here. On top means it's not fighting with the sound effects or the music, which we'll get to later. So is this all making sense? Am I answering questions that nobody's asking? Okay. Yeah, so even though we're talking about stereo, sound is three-dimensional, and the way you manipulate it will determine how it lands on the audience. So yeah, you can use dialogue leveler to get the results you want. All right, pitch. This is a fun tool that I'll probably come back to when we get talking to more about sound design.
One, I'm married.
But
I've got
4 grandkids. 2 boys, 16, 14,
really mess up. Something where this can, I'll just hit it since I'm here. So with some sound design, if you're going for a special effect, you can do layers where you take the same clip, duplicate it on another track, lower the volume, pitch it down, maybe time align it off just a hair, and you end up with, like in Lord of the Rings, when the white wizard is first appearing, and you've got 2 voices on top of each other saying the same thing, and you get this ethereal, weird, you can't quite tell which white wizard is about to appear, right? This is kind of how they did that. They took the 2 sounds, the two dialogue, laid them on top of each other, paced them out a little bit, pitched things a little bit. And so again, using something you already have, duplicate it, play with it, you can create an ethereal effect with using pitch shift and time. All right, great. So we're just going to go in all kinds of circles. Tied to pitch is, let me put that back. Is the speed change? Ooh, do I have to have that on? Something had to be on to get the speed. Pitch. Does somebody know why it's not giving me that second layer? It's saying it's on. Well, I thought.
what I'm commenting is
Huh? Oh, huh. Thank you. I think so. Yeah, look at there. So the pitch is doing both pitch and time. This, when you break it apart, this gives
Everything
um,
but then Jesus. And honestly, I am a severe introvert, and there was absolutely a time in my life when I knew absolutely nothing.
well. So, like, I'm literally compressing the timeline, which will affect, like I said, we're going to end up with all kinds of messed up. So where this could be useful is if your video and your audio don't quite line up, like maybe a frame rate was off on a camera and you can't go back and reshoot. This is a cheat where you can cheat your audio to match your video timeline, either faster or slower. Again, when you do it too much, now, when you got that pitch correction selected, it's going to try to, if you slow it down, it's going to try to bring up the pitch to make it try to sound normal. You can turn that off and you get different effect because it's just going to either speed it up or slow it down and not try to fix it for you. Yes? Looks like speed at 100, which that makes sense. Good question. You got a direction indicator. I'll come back to this in a little bit too. You can take your clip and reverse it if you select these other arrows. And then it has this little snowflake. And when I played with that, it basically just turns off your audio. Maybe those of you who understand that more often or this program more than me, I guess you just, at that point, it turns everything off. It freezes it, or I'm not sure why you would use that. Personally, I would just cut my clip, put a fade out, and move on. All right. Are we good so far? Great. All right. EQ. I do want to spend time on this guy. Again, just as a reminder, we're on clip specific. So anything we do here is going to get printed onto the clip. All right. This indicator, this is a high pass filter. So earlier when I said you got air conditioning rumble, you need a high pass filter. In the audio world, we are not very creative. Oh, I probably got to turn it on, don't I? Turn on the whole thing. Band one. Again, high pass filter, you're going to take off anything that's in the low frequencies is going to get rolled off or taken out. Anything up here gets to pass. That's high pass filter. Similar thing, low pass filter. You have a low pass filter option. This band 2 is a shelf. So what it does is anything behind it it's just gonna take everything up or everything down. Do you guys want to hear what this is actually doing? Okay. Go back to 0. Start with high pass. Let's go to a clip that we haven't. Well, or let's go back here. Whoa, that was not what I expected.
Yeah. And it's really a big part of my testimony. We're all taught to share our testimonies in terms of there was a time in my life when, but then Jesus. And honestly, I am a severe introvert, and there was absolutely a time in my life when I
I'm sorry. Highlight it. Select what you want.
knew absolutely nothing nor cared anything about relationships.
All right. So anything below
I dated from the time we were
wherever
15
this
years old,
elbow is, or this knee is,
and I was the worst
being
boyfriend
taken away,
ever.
going away.
I mean, she calls it romantically challenged. I would say I was relationally challenged. I mean, I really didn't understand much, but the more the Lord got a hold of me through my high school and college years, and then began a law practice, but even there, the Lord has just really began to transform me, and long story short, I get to go all over the world now teaching about relationships that I was so naturally bad at for so long. And so,
So this is the setting I find myself using consistently the most. So you have obviously your frequency, which, what hertz are we looking at? Gain. Positive gain, we're boosting above that zero line. Zero is being flat. We're not manipulating the sound at all. Negative, we're taking away, we're subtracting. All right, Q. Q is how wide or narrow your EQ band is. So you have, at the very center of this EQ curve, we have our point, and that's the primary frequency we're manipulating. But with a wide Q, like as we're coming off that frequency, it's slowly letting more of these other frequencies through as that curve is coming up, right? Now, if you have a very specific frequency that's a problem, and you can really narrow that Q, and you can get, even all the way down to where you're really just hitting one frequency. And taking it out.
Yeah, my ministry and the work the Lord has given me really for the last 30 years has been helping ministry leaders and people who are.
So you hear it was like basically one frequency that was popping. You widen that Q, and you're going to hear a lot more frequencies being.
In ministry, understand how relationships work biblically, how to repair them when they're broken, how to drive them deeper to make them what they're supposed to be in our lives. So that's really what I do.
And you would never know that it wasn't something that comes natural to you because.
I mean, she calls it romantically challenged. I would say I was relationally challenged.
When he's talking, you hear it kind of sounds like this, right? Now, so nasally is usually around 1K or just below 1K.
I mean, I really didn't understand much, but the more the Lord got a hold of me through my high school and college years, and then began a law practice, but even there, the Lord has just really began to transform me, and long story short, I get to go all over the world now teaching about relationships that I was so naturally bad at for so long. And so, my ministry and the work the Lord has given me really for the last 30 years has been helping ministry leaders and people who are involved in ministry understand how relationships work biblically.
So what I'm trying to do there too is I'm trying to make his voice sound natural, but also I'm manipulating it to where the higher frequencies are not as prominent as maybe the low mids, trying to warm up his voice. A lot of times we interpret sound, especially when we're talking. Like well, I'll ask this question. Who likes to hear their own sound, their own voice played back? One honest person, thank you. Most of us don't like it because when we're talking, we're hearing resonant from our chest. We're hearing like our bones, and like we think we sound lower than we actually are. Like, we think we have this awesome radio voice until we hear our voice played back to us on a recording, right? And that's again because when we're talking, we're feeling and experiencing frequencies, that the person on the other end of the sound wave isn't hearing. And so when you're manipulating audio, you want to try to make them sound natural, if that's what you're going for, unless you're sound designing. But God has also tuned our ears to specific frequencies. All right. From 1K to 7K, that's where most of our communication, that's our T's, our S's, some of the consonants are, and our ears are tuned to that. And so in audio, we call it perceived loudness. So like when you're doing a music mix or even when you're mixing a voice, you're actually going to cheat those higher frequencies down a little bit and the lower frequencies up a little bit to try to, so then we perceive it as even or flat, even though it's technically not. But it sounds good, it sounds right, it sounds full and warm because we've cheated it that way. Great. And then, so it looks like those are all just repeats of tools. Questions so far? Questions on EQ?
You mentioned the knee and the elbow as far as curve there. What were you referring to?
So the knee, and we'll come back to knee on some other tools, but knee is specifically referring to this part of the EQ curve where the flat starts to roll off onto your, wherever you're cutting, or when we get into compressor, the shape of the knee or the shape of that is going to change how it sounds. I like a nice rounded knee. It sounds natural. It's not very aggressive. And it smooths out the sound better. But, and again, I'm trying to also just stay into the world where most of you are going to live, which is spoken word voice or spoken voice. You don't need to be too aggressive. Now, if we're talking music, I'm going to be abusing my tools all the time to get the sound I want and being a lot more aggressive. Yes. Because that's how many they put in. When we get to the channel, because you have another EQ, and it has 6. When we get to the channel EQ, you have six points. Yeah, it's really just that's what they put in there. That's the processing power.
You select a clip and you manipulate it like all those 4 things, and you manipulate all of them, all that will with that specific clip to the entire clip.
Yes. So if we had gone in and chopped up, which we'll probably do here in a little bit, you'd only be manipulating the part that's selected. So if you've already made edits and you got multiple sound files, whatever one is selected or multiple ones are selected, those are the ones being manipulated. So you want to be careful with this one. Or you may, like if you have some problem dialogue, you may want to bring it in, manipulate it, or if you cut it up, manipulate it, and then re-export it as one, and then re-import it into your timeline. Which, again, if you're limited to 4 and you can't fix it with 4, do what you can with 4, export it, import it, you got 4 more. And you can just keep trying to work on it and fix it. Yeah.
So 2 things. One sort of a follow-up to that is just so DaVinci Resolve doesn't have any automation stuff where you can kind of have it changing as the clip plays. It would have to be kind of separated.
Not with EQ.
Okay.
Panning and volume you can automate on the timeline, which we can. I was hoping to kind of put you put points for volume or panning, and you can automate that. EQ, not really. And it'd be interesting. I guess I don't know where you would use an automated EQ, unless you're doing sound design. I guess you could start and just have the EQ roll off. But yes.
Duplicate your clip and do a different EQ audience 1 and 2 and 3.
Yes.
But there's nothing built into the software.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good solution.
So the other question that I had was, I know high-pass filters are really commonly used, but how often do you find for spoken dialogue do you use low-pass filters? what you use?
In live sound, I use it all the time. Um, I'm old. I've used my ears. I cannot hear 16K and above. So if I'm in a live sound situation, I'm going to do a low pass filter at 16K, because if it's feeding back, I'm not going to hear it. Now, you would probably use it more in a sound design situation where if you're trying to get rid of or make something sound bad or sound wrong or sound different, or I use bad, but if it works in the clip, then, manipulating the sound. It might be something where, like, if you have like something squeaking, well, that's hard to clean out. Yeah, I don't know where you would use it in like dialogue, because the 16K and stuff, that's air. That, like, we don't really hear it, but we hear it. Like if you have a vocalist who's singing, and if it's in a recorded studio, like you want that high frequency, you want up to 20K, because it's air. Does that make sense that we hear it, but we don't? Because only like young kids can really still hear 20K. Yes? Cool. I got to remember, I'm supposed to be repeating questions, so for the sake of the recording, practical experience of duplicating a track, EQing one way, EQing the second one, and crossfading between. You can achieve it within DaVinci Resolve and make it and cheat the automation. So, was there a hand? Oh, okay. Are we ready to move on? Okay. So, yeah. Again, there we go. So again, these are tools that are directly affecting the clip itself. Come down here and into our mixer. Whoop. So this is going to be your channel. So you have a channel volume. Backing up, let me hit this. So this is where you're going to be able to automate your volume within the clip. So command, option, there we go, option. You can option click, gives you your point. And so then you can come in here, manipulate. You can manipulate your volume, you can manipulate your panning, and that's where you can automate it on your timeline. If you're here on the channel, anything that's in that track or on that channel, this is going to affect everything. Open for me. No. That's giving you some more options on less aggressive curves on your automation. But why am I not getting? Or do I got to come over to this one? Okay. I think in the newer version, I thought I was able to, does anybody have the newer version? Okay. I thought I was able to double click there and it took me here. All right, so here's where we're getting our things that we're doing to the whole channel. Anything that's in that timeline is going to be affected. And we got some more tools here too. Well, any other questions before I move on in my brain? Great. All right, dynamics. We talked about leveling your voice. You know, you want the voice is nice and solid, coming in hot down the middle. Now, if you have someone who's a very dynamic speaker, you will want to come in and use compression. I don't want to get too deep into compression, but to try to explain what it's doing is you're going to have a threshold. And that's a volume point where you're telling the compressor, I want you to start working. So as the sound is coming in or the waveform's coming up, it's going to cross that threshold, and then the compressor is going to start working. Range. Range is going to tell you, and different tools are going to call it different things, but range is going to tell you how much it's going to start telling that sound to be more quiet. So what a compressor is going to do is it's going to take that sound wave and it's going to start squishing it down. Right? And it's going to kind of do this. So as that sound comes in, it's going to hit that threshold, and that compressor is going to bring it down. Now, where you want to do this is, again, you have someone who maybe is talking very quiet. They're starting out a normal conversation around the table. Discussion gets heated. Someone starts getting really aggressive, really loud, and that compressor is going to keep the volume at a nice level. It's going to keep you from clipping, but it's going to the intensity of the conversation is still going to be there because it will let the volume come up a little bit, but it's going to keep it kind of what I call a pocket. We're going to keep it right in that pocket. We're not going to clip it, but the intensity, the tone, the quality of the sound is going to let people know, hey, this person is really upset. But that compressor is just going to ride that top of the wave and push it back down to keep it from getting out of control. Make sense so far? What is happening? The ratio, so what the ratio is saying is for every D, so like right now it's at 1:1. So the compressor is actually not going to do anything. If we bring that down, or up. So a ratio of 1:2 is for every dB, well, for every 2 dB that's going to go past that threshold, it's going to let 1 dB come up and pass it. And you can change that. Obviously, you can be very detailed on like how much you compress. Personally, I like a very low ratio and a low threshold so that it starts working early, but you're not really going to hear it. Is it making sense? Okay. Attack is how fast after it crosses that threshold is that compressor going to start working. So the fast attack, like if you're working with a drum, you're going to have a fast attack. On the spoken word, I guess it depends on the person. My pastor, I have a pretty fast attack because he likes to go from whisper mode into energy. So I want that kicking in pretty quickly. Hold is after the sound wave goes down, back past under the threshold, how long is that compressor going to keep working? Wrong. That's release. Release is what I just described. So after that threshold comes down, how long is it going to still work and compress the sound wave until it releases? Hold means as soon as it crosses that threshold, it's going to just sit there and hold. So you got this, you actually have three. Most in this music world, we don't necessarily always have all three of these choices. This is probably a little bit overkill for most of what you're doing. But it's time. How long is that compressor doing? Now, and I've only talked about half of what the compressor is doing. So it's pushing down the top of that sound wave. So this can also, you can also reshape your sound wave here. So if you have a slow attack, a decent hold already, and a slow release, you can literally push the back end of your sound wave down. And you can shape and change and manipulate how the sound sounds, or how the shape of the sound wave using a compressor. And I'm going to need to speed up here. Questions so far? Where's my... No? Yes? No? Great. So your mix allows you to manipulate how much of the compressed sound is coming out versus your original sound. So you can actually blend the sound from your original clip to your affected. Okay, I feel like I'm bogging down here a little bit. Questions so far, or do I need to? Yeah.
What's a good starting point for the attack zones, like on regular outspoken work? Where would you
I probably around 20 milliseconds. Yeah. All right. So let me jump ahead. I apologize. I got really bogged down in some of these tools. So let me tell you somewhere you should spend some money. Get a good composer. And I just want to give a shout out to my friend Brian Atkinson. He gave me this music for the demo. And I'm going to just real quickly talk about one more tool, or a way you can use the compressor as a ducker. This is a kind of a way, like if you don't want to necessarily go in and automate every single time you have spoken word over top of music, you can use the compressor to create space or create a volume gap so the spoken word can come over top. So jump into my timeline. I need to get on the right channel. 3. And I'm going to listen from A2. No. Wow, that's not doing what I wanted it to do. No, I'm looking for sidechain. Wow, did they change it that much between the versions? Oh my gosh. $18.6, because they're up to 19 something.
when they made a bunch of changes to the audio, I don't think they made a lot of
Well, so much for that idea. Well, I am 90% confident that right here on a newer version, There's either input or listen, or sidechain is also another term. And basically what you're able to do there is say, I want this compressor to listen to this channel where the spoken word is at. And then when that spoken word hits that threshold, compressor is going to kick in, it's going to push your music down, and it's going to help create that space so the voice can sit on top of the mix. Real quickly, again, this thing is overpowered. If you come in here to the pan, this is where you can actually do immersive audio mixing. Again, if you don't have that set up, I wouldn't recommend trying it. Although sometimes, test it before you put it out there for real. Some of the processes are able to take that 3D information and fold it back down to stereo. The potential problems with that is that you're creating potential phasing because of time alignment. Wow. Let's go here. So what are we trying to do? And I apologize, I got bogged down. We didn't get through all the tools. Again, there's very powerful tools in DaVinci Resolve. I didn't get into much sound design. Another great free software out there is Audacity. That's where you're going to find reverbs, phasers, and all kinds of great tools to make your sounds different. Just real quick on reverb. Think of reverb as like if you've seen the pencil artist and they're drawing, they take their thumb and then they kind of smear that pencil mark. That's kind of what reverb is going to do to your sound, but it's also going to give you some depth, right? And when you push reverb hard, you can make it sound like you're in a cave, you're in a cathedral. So again, if you only have whatever audio you've captured, but you need to make it sound like you're somewhere else, you can use some of these tools to force or to be creative and make the sound design that you want. That's also another program that over the years has really improved. It's a openware software, very solid. Easier to edit in than DaVinci Resolve. I'm finding DaVinci is a little bit hard to edit. It's really designed to drop in, do some of your finishing. But if you're doing some sound design, you really need to work on something, you can look to Audacity. It does a lot. Yeah, your sound effects, you want them to help build the world, not distract from it. You can over sound design things very quickly. Music is setting your emotion. Here's one of my pet peeves, just across the board. Especially the American audience, we are over inundated with media. And the audience has become really well versed in storytelling, in sound design. Unfortunately, with streaming, we're not getting as much behind the scenes releases of movies like we used to. I love watching the behind the scenes, how it was made. But in general, the audience is very well educated. And so if you're going to break from a storytelling norm, my caution is just know why you're doing it. Understand the risks. Make sure you're looking at test audience and stuff. If the sound is distracting or the music is distracting, we're not supporting the final product like we are hoping. And then also know where your content's going to be consumed. If you're going to get to a theater, great. But if you're going to get to a theater, you should be paying somebody to do your final mix down in a real sound stage or a real studio with real speakers, with real software. If you're releasing for you're trying to do some fundraising, you're releasing proofs of concept, you don't have the money or you're working towards your product. Hopefully this was something that will help you make it sound good so that you can raise your funds, you can cast the vision, You can set the expectation. Or if you're interacting with someone who's doing audio for you, like especially like with those frequencies, it's some language you can use that will help you communicate what you need them to do. And yeah, if your final destination is somebody's phone in vertical format, right? Do you need all that low end? Do you need to take the time to have an awesome soundtrack? They're not going to hear those low frequencies, right? Those speakers aren't going to reproduce the sound. If it's going to be in somebody's home with surround sound speakers, you need to know that and mix accordingly. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for participating. Thank you for not letting me speak the whole time all by myself. And I hope this was beneficial. I hope you can get some really good projects out there. And I really do appreciate you taking time to pay attention to sound. Bad sound on Christian films is what started me on my journey into sound. There were early Christian films that my wife and I could not finish because we could not stand listening to them. All right. So thank you so much. I'll hang out here for a few minutes if we want to poke around the DaVinci Resolve a little bit more, or if you want a further explanation. I know I had to really accelerate toward the end, and we passed over even some other tools that are in there. But yeah, go make great content that glorifies God.